instances now. I want you to quiet down. The energy that you're feeling, this real bright, high energy, is coming from the consciousnesses that have been at God's country place. It's very noticeable that they're, if you'll get into this now. Let's try to even close that blind there if we can. So that, see this. It's difficult to demonstrate a holy instant to feel this, because it's experiential. It doesn't have to do with your ideas about it, does it? This is doubtless who is, can you see? Is it all right if I demonstrate? Is this okay? I'm going to let it hang out a little bit here. See who we got. You guys aren't going to hurt me or burn me or anything. I want you to get the idea that it's okay for you to have a process, you new guys. If it's not okay for you to have a process, you're never going to get this. You got to let it be okay to demonstrate for God. Because the ritual of worship is a demonstration. And I know that you feel, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be a shaker. Are you familiar with the shaker movement? We call ourselves wavers or something. The direct contact with the obviously is the insertion of a range of electromagnetic, and you call it energy if you want to. But you are nothing but an energetic association. And the admission of that you're more than a body, that you're a cumulative great ray association, as Master Jesus would teach you in the Course, is very valuable to you. What the hell is the sense in doing the Course in Miracles if you're not going to go through a transformation? Well, see, I want an answer to that from you so-called Course. It's absurd. The Course in Miracles is the Course in Enlightenment. It's not a course in practicing forgiving your mother-in-law. It doesn't have anything to do with human beings. It has to do with God. This is a God contact. If you don't want to contact God, don't come around me. I'm contacting God. I mean God, not your idea of some sort of religious association of perceptual connections between what defines God. God is a fact. We are experiencing a fact. For the first time, maybe, for the first time in your perceptual life, you could actually have a godly experience. You'd be embarrassed by it, you'd be ashamed by it. You'd say, well, I wouldn't want that to happen to me. I wouldn't want to really make a confession that there really is. I have to keep this veil on top of me. I've got to crouch around. If you feel what's going on here, you can get an idea that these consciousnesses are undergoing literally transformations of their minds. If this doesn't occur to you, what are you doing? Are you going to stay here and just study your own associations with your own thought forms, you Course people? Your projected thought forms have nothing to do with reality at all, do they? Nothing. They have nothing to do with them. You don't know what they are. You must be what you are. And this is what's happening here now. Does this disturb you? Are you fearful of somebody that would stand up and suddenly you feel this in your head? I better run away. I better get out of here. What's happening to me? Why am I feeling this? You're an emerging species. You're becoming spiritual man. You're the essence of a new reality. You're the forerunners of a new reality. Someday I'll teach this with no religious significance at all to give you a fundamental idea that you are undergoing an evolutionary process of your mind. What do you think your mind is for? Why do you hold it down into this range of associations of the form? Where does your idea of God come from? What's wrong with us contacting God? I can't even get you to talk about God here. We don't talk about God here. Well, we talk about him on Sunday. I don't mind admitting, but you got your God and I've got my God, and meanwhile we'll struggle with this and do it. That's not what I declare to you. I'm declaring to you that there's a God. You say, well, I don't doubt that. Then I say, how come you're in sick and pain and dying if there's a God? Didn't God make you perfectly in the certainty of his own reality? How come you're not that then? Well, I'm undergoing a process. Okay, well, let's undergo a process then. How else are you going to do it? Somebody, anybody. What are you going to do? You're a body. I see you sitting there looking at this. You're doing this in your own mind. If you can't change somewhere in you, if the Course in Miracles is not a course in atonement or enlightenment, what is it? Where did it come from? Where did this come from? All these written words in here. Who wrote this? Who directed this? Where is he? Watch your mind shut down on this. Huh? Where's the guy that wrote this? Is there a separate place from this? This wasn't written here, was it? Helen Schuckman didn't write it. Would you dare admit that this is written by a consciousness transcended out of time? Throw out the religion. It doesn't have anything to do with being crucified on the cross. It doesn't have anything to do with the conceptual comparisons of the man Jesus with the Gnostic traditions of the 3rd and 4th century. It's absurd. I'm talking about the declaration that there was a man who underwent an experience of resurrection, which you termed 2,000 years ago, and is now directing you out of body to the declaration that you are in that process yourself. How you could look at the Course and not say, wow, could that really be so? Could this really be happening to me? Where did it come from? How did it happen to come here now? It was never here before. You were never here before. You were never in this dream before. This is the culmination of your associate dreams in space-time. This is your going out time. This is your growing up time. This is your maturation. This is the time that you chose to wake up. The workbook lessons for this morning will demonstrate that to you. That this was the time that you chose. Well, do I have to have an experience? How else are you going to keep from dying? You set yourself up to die. You're a human being on the planet. You were born here, you have children, you have a family, and you're going to die. Unless you're capable of disowning your associations with sickness and death and declare through the revelation of your mind that you're not going to die. You have to do it. Otherwise, you're going to die because you've designed yourself to die. You don't have to take notes on this. You've already designed yourself to die. Why? You've designed yourself to take notes so tomorrow you can study this. There isn't any tomorrow. What's tomorrow? I don't understand it. When's that going to be? That's today. I'm supposed to deliver a message to you. This is the last day. So if you still feel like you got to make some telephone calls, you better run and make them. I'm very serious. You guys coming to your altar need to make your amends. You better get out and do them. Clean your act up. Some of you guys got real crappy stuff. See, the Course in Miracles doesn't teach. well, it teaches it, it declares it through love. Doesn't teach amends, but some of you guys are carrying a lot of grievance and junk. This is a carryover from what I told you last night. Okay, you got one. You better take care of that. There's no, I know you guys perfectly well. I was a human being. Don't fool me with your resentments. Some of you have been carrying them for 40 years, 30 years, 20 years. This morning, some of you had a couple bad ones this morning. Do you understand what an amend is? Anyone? It has nothing to do with reciprocity. Stop it. Stop thinking that an amend has something to do with the response that the consciousness gives you. You want to hear this? It has nothing to do with the response you get. You call them on the phone and you say, wow, hi, how are you? And I love you, and that's it. You're so determined that you need to somehow be justified for your own grievance. Stop justifying your grievance. Okay? The extension of yourself in the forgiveness, I'm back into the 12-step program a little bit here because this is a part of that. You're held in the bondage of your determination to defend yourself in that relationship idea. Cut it out. How are you going to change it except in your own mind? It has absolutely nothing to do with the response the consciousnesses give you. Is there a question on this, you non-amend makers? You're carrying your pride. You got all sorts of pride about the situation. You're very fearful of what the response is going to be. You're very guilty about the things that you've done. The whole basis of this teaching is that's okay. Okay. That you're carrying the guilt of previous associations in your own mind. But the only way you can do it is to clean it up. Who cares what the response is? Then become non-defensive. Are you and you find yourself in conflictual defensive associations? That's what your relationships are. They are conflictual associations, of course. They're arbitrations of death and sickness. Some of you undergoing these experiences at high levels are finding a considerable amount of conflict in your what you call special personal relationship. But nothing is more conflictual than the relationship itself. I assure you of that. That relationship is based on some sort of equanimity, some sort of balance of of separation, a determination to die. So you may well undergo some conflicting associations if you walk up to a special one and say, I've decided I commit my life to God. I've decided I'm going to take this seriously. I've decided I'm not going to die. I've decided I'm not going to get sick anymore. I've discovered that sickness is a decision and I won't get sick anymore. He says, ha, 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 well, just wait a minute. You're going to be just like the rest of us. You'll be just as dead as we are. They'll tell you this. I'm from deep experience. They'll tell you that. It'll catch up with you. My sister has all of the resentments that I gave up. So does my brother. Those are my Nazareth connections. My sister is a totally, absolutely resentful consciousness. She's very determined that this is a place where you must die in order to be in heaven. She's a Christian. A Christian, as she defines herself. The necessity to die is a part of the religion of Homo sapien, of the religion of man. It has nothing to do with God at all. God does not demand your death. I didn't mean to get into this talk. How did I get into this? Every time I open my mouth, I get into a talk. We're talking about holy instances. But you guys got so much perceptual junk in you that it's hard, you get all, do you understand that any opinion is an attack on God? Do you do the course, guys? I mean, I'm just giving you the sentences. And any opinion you have about your own relationship is an attack on reality. God doesn't know about it, but you do, and you attack him and he doesn't respond. You demand a response and he won't give it to you, so you curse him for not answering your prayers of death. He doesn't answer your prayers of death because he can't hear you. He doesn't understand being sick. He doesn't what does God know about sickness and pain and death? Nothing. You know about it. How about the devil? He knows about it. He's a force that's opposed to God. Does God know about him? Yeah. Then he's not all powerful if you can't do anything about him. If he could do something about him and doesn't, he's not all good. I don't want anything to do with the God that allows the devil. You have him. All you've done is projected your own devilship, your own separate association with yourself outside of you and given it an objective reality, the same as you've given God an objective reality. And you're caught between the devil and God. Whose side do you decide to be on? What qualities do you think that this consciousness would have, this evilness, that would be different from this consciousness? Obviously, this perfect, loving God is allowing this perpetration of this evil thing. That's absurd. That's sense. You have that if you want to. I would never know what sides to choose. Which side do I choose? God is going to have to define to me what he means by evil. If God will tell me, this is what I went through in my awakening for you guys that struggle with this, all I ever asked God was to tell me what I'm supposed to do. But he never answered me. How about thou shalt not kill? Okay. Is that one of the commandments of God? That's a commandment of man. God has nothing to do with thou shalt not kill. He doesn't know about death. I don't know where you hear this. That's Jehovah. That's the God of Abraham. That's not the God of... That's the first covenant, isn't it? That's the exchange. That's the idea of thou shalt not do that or this will happen to you. That's the idea of an eye for an eye, isn't it? That's the first covenant. No, this is a God of love. He knows not of death. He would never command you not to kill. He doesn't know what that is. How could he? Okay, now the basis of this teaching is that evil is only separation, and you are separate from God, therefore you are evil. But evil cannot be real, therefore you are not real. Now you can be happy. Well, be happy that you're not real, and then you can... There used to be for you addicts, some of you addicts that are here used to do the 24-hour book. And there's a lovely 24-hour book that says, wear the world like a loose garment. Okay, you're caught in a box of time and space. And the whole basis of this teaching is to allow you to relinquish your own associations with the thing that you are demanding redress for. All human consciousnesses are only grievances. You'll hold on to your past associations and attempt to change them in the present, and that's impossible to do because they're based on something that happened a year ago. How are you going to change it? If it's gone away, if you base your reality on what's gone away, what's good that's going to do you? I watch you guys go through counseling sessions in order to justify the veracity of your grievance, and it just really gives me a pain. You got an idea that you're going to form groups to justify the things that happened to you 20 years ago, and you get together and say, well, we were all beaten with lollipops, or I don't care what you tell me, you're going to justify yourself to hold on to the grievance instead of undergoing the experience of forgiveness. Some of these groups are support groups for support groups. They're coming up with a support group for a support group for a support group of children who had grandchildren who were alcoholics. And just nonsense. Anything to what? Keep a mutual identity, rather than undergoing the experience of saying, that's okay. Well, after all, if these things hadn't happened to me, I wouldn't be this way. You're caught. You'll never get out of it. What a terrible situation to find yourself in. These things have all happened to you, and all of a sudden you're standing here and that's already happened. The transformed mind undergoes this. It discovers that forgiveness is forgetting. My mind that went through a transformation is very capable of remembering exactly the same grievances that my sister holds against the occurrences in my framework of time. You and I share a same time framework. My sister I'll tell my sister what a wonderful time it was to be alive in the 30s. I don't look that old, but that's because I underwent my awakening. And I say, gee, remember the family and all the loving things we did, and we would go and get a cold root beer, And my sister is, oh, I'm telling you, what do you mean it's good? Your dad was drunk and he fell down the stairs and we didn't have anything to eat. And, we lived exactly the same experience. Exactly the same experience. Now, did I practice giving up the resentment that my sister exercises against my father? I love my father's weakness. How can I say this? I love him for being exactly what he was. Because if he hadn't been what he was, I wouldn't be what I am now. What did I do? I took the apparent adversity of the grievance and turned it into a benefit. This is the whole teaching. This is my whole teaching. I'm really giving it to you here, if you can hear it. Everything that could possibly have occurred to you in all space and time, every karma memory, most particularly the one of this, memory of this world, has brought you to this time, to this place, right now. Okay? All of those memories can be brought together, and you can call this forgiveness if you want to, so that you have the capacity to remember the now. To say, if that hadn't happened to me, wow, I wouldn't be able to be happy and joyous today. I wouldn't be able to be me because you listen to me. No matter what you pretend or what you do, you're going to be you. I'm telling you, you can decide the kind of you that you want to be, and that's by giving up the grievance of the associations with the past. The past cannot be corrected. It can be forgiven and forgotten. You'll go to your reunions, and the whole basis of your reunion will be based on grievances or associations of your family connections. You'll sit down in a chair and they can hardly wait to remind you of all the terrible things that... The reality of the human race is based on coming together with declarations of the fights that the sisters had. Can't tell me, I have families. And finally, as you go through your maturation, you'll sit there and say, well, why can't we all be loving and loving? In fact, this is what you always did. Most of you were always the counselor in the family anyway, you see. Well, you see, you're making a little more progress in that regard. And finally, you'll be sitting there and they'll absolutely insist that you hold on to the resentment. And if you don't hold on to the resentment, they will inevitably attack you for siding with the other consciousness. And if you don't do that, they'll attack you simply for remaining neutral. See, the perceptual mind is a condition of attack and defense. I wouldn't want to be here. Listen, guys. These consciousnesses that are undergoing high spiritual experiences have no problems giving up the earth. Your value systems that are set on the grievance do not understand a transforming mind. A transforming mind takes a look at a human being and says, I'm glad I'm not that way. You hear me? I mean, they're really glad. I'm really glad I'm not a human being. I don't want to carry your death and grievances and the things you want. You demand that I do. You demand that you're going to give me an identity in relationship to what you think I ought to be with you, and you're wrong. Okay, my mind is different than yours. Your mind can be like mine. Your mind can become like these minds have become, but it's not there yet. That's a decision that you have to make through the laying down or the relinquishment of the things that you cherish here. Okay, there's no such thing as sacrifice. You're not going to give anything up. You can't lose. The idea of loss is absurd. Why would you lose the things you love? Nobody ever answers me to that. Till you die. So you can accumulate and use it up and get sick and die. Go ahead. I just mean, get sick, die. All you're doing is just who's going to stop you from doing that? You're using the power of the universe. The power that you're exercising is exactly the same as the power of God, because that's what it is. There is only one power of mind. You can take that power of mind and hold it in a perceptual relationship, but you can't make it real. Illusions combat illusions. not God. You don't believe that. You actually think that somehow you're addressing an issue of reality. You're not. You're not. You Course in Miracles people ought to look at what the Course really teaches. If the effect is not real, the cause cannot be real. You keep trying to give yourself a real cause and then say, well, my effects aren't real. That's not what it is. Okay, this is not a real place. Your conception of your association with yourself has no reality. This is the whole basis of the Course in Miracles. Okay, that this is not real. Now you say, well, why does the Course in Miracles give me a choice in this matter? It has no alternative, because it's faced with the impossible situation of your belief in choice. No choice is possible in this. If I can get you now to see with some degree of certainty that the enlightenment experience that you are undergoing is an inevitable, you'll stop making pseudo-unreal choices about your determination to die. You have no real choice, as taught by any awakened mind, to die, to be sick and die. You're trying to console that way. It won't work. If you give them that, they're going to take it. They're then going to tell you they're in a condition of free will where God gives them the right to get sick and die. That's crazy. That's crazy. Wholeness does not know of sickness and death. You better make that step, or you're just going to be out there counseling to death. Why? You have projected the image of your association onto your patient, and literally you're killing him by allowing him to express himself to you. That's a fact, incidentally. You enter into his plight. You can't help it. All unhealed teachers do. They start out with the provision of the justification for the possibility of the sickness. You're a liar. He's a projection of your own mind where in associations you can attempt to appear an unreality. It's too tough a lesson for you? Leave. You guys who somehow are going to let a sickness, you're going to let this tell me that guy is sick and then try to heal him. How the hell are you going to heal him if he's really sick? What is it that's sick? If you don't ask that question, you can't get this. You'll repair that with some sort of magical treatment, everything from booze to aspirin to some sort of laying on of hands. He'll simply re-illusion into another definition of his false self. Do you understand me? You haven't cured him of anything. What you've done was alleviate his magical associations with his own sickness. Well, you're not going to die of cancer, now you're going to get hit by a truck tomorrow or something. Getting hit by a truck is exactly as sick as dying of cancer. Not only is it exactly the same, but you have made a provision in your karma associations to be killed by a truck. Everything happens because it happens. Everything happens at your will. There is no alternative to this. You don't like that? Too bad. I'm teaching what you must term conceptual reality. Okay? There is nothing objective about reality. Subjective reality. This is the Course in Miracles. This is the declaration of all whole minds. There is nothing outside of you. Okay. There's no such thing as Newtonian physics. There's no such thing as separate objectivity, other realities. The whole basis of the Course is you are caught in thought forms that establish a distance between the thoughts that you had in your mind about a chair and a table and a Leslie speaker, a nice Leslie speaker. Now, do I have memories of this Leslie speaker? Sure. Is that Leslie speaker being manufactured in my mind? Yes. Yes, it is. Okay. If you really begin to do the workbook of the Course, the first lesson will be what? You don't know what anything is. It seems as though you know that this is a chair. But remember, that has been established in your conceptual relationship with yourself. I'm going to show you what the Course is trying to get you guys to do, you so-called healers. This is a chair, right? Not so. It is only a chair because within your own memory of your reflected perception, you have made it a chair. You don't know what this is. You don't know what this is. How do you know what this is? You don't know what you are. You don't know how you got here. You have no idea. Now, we can agree that this is a chair as long as we just want to associate in our own perceptions with what it is. Do you agree with me? Let's you and I get together and we'll have a relationship based on this chair. Now, it'll be perfect as long as we both just think it's a chair. The problem we're going to have is that because you are separate from me, your ideas about what this chair are not the same as mine. And if you think they are, you're wrong. Now, we can establish a temporary association with a chair as long as you don't say to me things like, well, I much prefer to have a padded chair rather than a chair like that. And I say, well, I don't know. What's wrong with this chair? I don't know. You say, who made it? It's not going to last very long. We're caught. How much is it worth? Huh? You and I are caught describing ourselves objectively. You say, well, that's okay. All of my relationships are objective. Of course. You possess associate thought forms about yourself. You hold on to them and they rust and die. This is exactly the same as an idea in your mind. The idea in your mind will rust and die. This will rust and die. What's the practice of getting out of this? Ask it what it is. Huh? Just ask it. Say, what are you to that chair? Say that. What are you?
What are you?
Wow. Wow. Huh? Wow, look, the chair. This is the 7th lesson in the workbook. The chair is God. This is a godly. Sounds like pantheism. The chair has chair gods. Everybody has their own God, but there's only one. As a matter of fact, the chair god's got a better God than you've got. The chair god knows what it is. Just like a hippopotamus is God is hippopotamus because he doesn't question it. I mean, there's no difference between a hippopotamus and God. You just think there is. No. Why? You've got an objective reality that has given that a sense form. Okay, this is Course in Miracles, and I'm going to get in a holy instant just for a minute. Actually, you are really only establishing yourself each moment. Otherwise, you could never get out of here. You have in you each moment the absolute capacity to change your mind because time itself is not sequential and has no real longevity. It only has, it's chapter 13 of the Course, incidentally. It has longevity only in your own perceptual thought form associations that you hold by your previous frame of reference. Okay? This is a chair. I am a body. I can sit on the chair and be a body and have a heart attack. Ah! Call the medics. You think that I just didn't have a heart attack and die? You're wrong. You're wrong. I just had a heart attack and died. You guys get real defensive. If I really begin to present you with what you're doing in your own mind, you won't like me. You're defending yourself from heart attacks. You watch yours. You guys watch your cholesterol, you know. And you take... What are you caught in? You're caught in the thought forms of your own associations of body. You are not a body. You are as God created you. Okay, once you begin to study the cause and effect relationships with your body, you'll be caught forever. You'll never get out of it. You can't get out of it. How could you? You've given separate identities to the functioning of your own wholeness. You doctors treat patients like they're hunks of pieces. It's astonishing. Well, you got specialists in the everything. You know. Guys, imagine that. A doctor specializes in a particular thought form of the association with the apparent symbiotic relationship of something he has no idea. He's a plumber. It has absolutely nothing to do with what that consciousness is. Wow, is that something? Why would somebody want to do that? Healers? You've already acknowledged the sickness. Now you've become a specialist, a proctologist or something. The whole world is nothing but a species of proctologists. I know you don't like that, but when I see what you guys do, you're always just peering into your own self. You know, you're just... And you defend it, too. You can defend this if you want to. I mean, you really defend it. I wonder if there's that in heaven, you say. Gee, will I be that in heaven? Is what you say to me. So you are in a form of objective reality that precludes your coming together in your real associations with yourself. And this is the lessons that we have come to learn today. That through not identifying with my previous conceptual dualistic associations. Now this is literally true if this image that I have made with my mind is sitting out there is a body. I'll teach you the way the Course teaches us for a moment. At no real time is the body there at all. It's only a projection of your own imagery. Does everybody see that? You make up the images out of your own memory. Okay, I'll do that. Yes, I'll tell them. Yeah. We'll tell them that. That'll be okay. Yeah. So the holy instant then will be the time when suddenly this takes on a different aspect of reality to you, where you lose your objective associate identity with it. That's an experience that has nothing to do with you. You can't accomplish this except by looking at the absolute magnitude of what I'm declaring to you. You're very frightful of doing it. I'm literally telling you there's no such thing as objective reality. Contained in you right now is an idea that this consciousness in its persona, in its personality, is real. You positively have projected that out from your mind. You've given it a separate identity from you, and then you question it in your own relationship. The consciousness literally cannot give you any response except what you have dictated in your own mind, and if you think it can, you're wrong. Why do you continue to study your ego, your personality relationships? What good are they going to do you? I'm going to give you a big one. You literally are not communicating. Stop pretending that you're communicating with your own projections. You're communicating only with yourself, and that is not communication. I know you think it is. I'm telling you that you're wrong. I'm telling you there are no such thing as separate thoughts. Take a bite of it. This is the teachings of the Course in Miracles. There are not separate thoughts going on in somebody else's mind separate from yours. You better be thankful there aren't. Because if there were, your problem is literally not solvable. If that consciousness really has a separate associate thoughts from you, how are you ever going to get to know what he's talking about? You're just going to have to agree on a temporary association with him. You are not communicating with him. Stop pretending you are. That's a big step for you. What do you mean by that, you say? Well, let's get together and decide what we mean by that. How? You don't know who you are. If that's a projection of your mind, it's impossible that he is going to give you any message that you do not want to hear, so let's not kid ourselves about this. That includes the message of your death, his death, and every possible idea that you cherish in relationship to your conceptual self. How is this said? That's what this says. That's this Course in Miracles. How you could fall down into the idea that the Course in Miracles is an exchange in perceptual relationship is absurd to me. It has absolutely no meaning and no value. The declarations of A Course in Miracles from out of time is that time is not real, that this is not real, and that it never happened. And that the practice of coming to know that is a fallacy. That the practice of coming to know that is illusionary, but it's the only alternative. I am going to give you, through this mechanism of transformation, a new dream. It'll still be a dream, but it will be the bringing together of all of your memories into a harmonious association. Okay? It's still an image. It still appears to be separate. It gets brighter. It makes you happy. It makes you joyous. You lose the conflicts that you've established with that consciousness to defend your own associations with yourself. I don't know where you're hearing this. You got to wake up and hear it. Instead of trying to console, everything's going to be okay. The consoling is it's not going to be okay. All awakened minds or progressive minds who have turned their wills over to God console that the world will never be okay. The problem of the world cannot be solved, and if you'll stop trying to do it, okay, you'll discover that you always were the problem. And there never or ever could be a problem except as you have established it in your own mind. Until you stop trying to define yourself in relationship with your own mind projections, it is impossible that this can occur. Why? You have the power of your mind to hold on to it and die in your own karma drama. And you do. Fortunately for you, since you invented time, you can change your mind about your conceptual associations with it. Okay? Time has no longevity more than an instant unless you give it that. Not that that instant is true, but that instant of the time of the apparent schism is what? The closest that you can get to reality. When would that instant be? When? Say it. Now. It would have to be now. All right? If you have shortened time, this is the pure Course in Miracles now. If you have shortened your perceptual determination not to die, you haven't laid up a store that's making provisions for you to die. That's absurd. Why do you store things up? You're going to die anyway. Why don't you use them now and give them away in love? Oh, I wouldn't dare do that. How would I keep myself from what? Well, yeah, you guys go, I wouldn't dare do that. Until you do that, you'll never be alive. Some of you hear that. I know a lot of my people hear this very plainly. That's why they protect everything by giving it away. If you hold on, if you hold on to a perceptual idea about yourself, you protect it, you project it into the future, it rusts and gets old, and you die along with it. And you tell me that's okay, well, go ahead. The whole teachings of Master Jesus Christ of Nazareth are you should live in the now, don't plan for the future, consider the lilies of the field, don't defend yourself, and you would be in heaven, and you are in heaven because you did that. Okay, the problem that you're having is remembering that you did it. It is impossible that I am presenting anything to you that has not been done in your mind. Where do you want to hear that? If I'm a construct of your mind, it must be that you have already remembered and ascended into heaven following the schism. It's impossible that that not be so. Isn't it? If perception is only past tense, how did I get into your mind in the first place? How come I'm telling you this now? What do you do with it? All I've ever done is tell you this. 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 All I've ever done is tell. Literally, all I have ever done is tell you this. You can do all sorts of things if you want to. They mean nothing to me. I'm what you call a designated whole mind. This is what I've got going on around here. We're very much aware, this is pure Course in Miracles now, that we have undergone transformations of our mind that give us the single provision of showing you your own reality. We do nothing but that. The exact difference in my mind and yours is not honesty, it's constancy, and that's what you can't stand about me. No matter what you tell me about yourself, I'll tell you you're perfect and happy and in heaven. And you'll say, no, I'm not, and I'll say, yes, you are. And you'll say, no, I'm not, and I'll say, yes, you are. And you'll say, no, I'm not, and you'll go through another death process, have a heart attack to prove that you're right. And then you'll come back to me again, and you'll say, well, nah, this time I got it solved. This time I'm going to be a human being on the planet Earth, and I'm going to live to be And I'll say, well, looks like you got a pretty good thing going there. What? Other people outside of me are dying, but I'm okay. Who's to stop you from doing that? No one. Okay, death is a decision. Can you hear this? All you'd have to say to me is, I don't want to die. Try that. Say, I'm not going to die anymore. Say that. Hey, this is Angel's teaching. This angel has an awakened mind, has gone through a process. So the show we're taking on the road is swear not to die. Okay, what you just did ensured you eternal life because life is eternal. Okay, you can quarrel about that with yourself, but it'll be to no avail. Why? You made the one true statement that it's necessary for you to make. If time is death, eternity knows not of time. Time knows not of eternity. Time has to be death because it's born. Anything born has to die. The quicker you can do it, the more you can see there is no time. The whole teaching is to be born and die each moment. That's the holy instant. Now, the unholy instant is your stringing together of your dead associations. The holy instant is the accumulation of a new you through the declaration of your reality, which will what? Shorten time because it cleans up your previous perceptual associations that have accumulated in your own genetic, what you call your I Ching, what you call your Akashic record. You search your Akashic record for a solution to your problem. It's not there. It's literally not there. You're caught in time of thought form association. You say, well, I went into an astral plane and I was instructed by a Hindu priest. What the hell good is that going to do you? He can't tell you anything you don't want to hear. The one thing that you're very afraid to hear is that God is real and that you're actually in heaven. That's why you're afraid of God. Since you have to defend yourself, God appears to be outside of you. You have to project your wrath onto Him and make Him a wrathful God from which you protect yourself. It's crazy, but you do it. What am I here to tell you? Quit doing it. Stop doing that. Don't do that anymore. Stop doing that. Well, it's better than you were yesterday. Coming along a little bit there. I've never seen anything like that. Some of you guys get really sunk down into this, you know. I wonder, how, what's this all about? Why? Your condition is to defend yourself. Like that, just like that. Well, what do you mean by that? That's what you do. If you defend yourself, I must be attacking you by what I say. The only way you can know is I'm not attacking you is not by not defending yourself from this. This seems far too outlandish for you to be so. You'd much rather write upon all your prescription for the answer to your own mind, and you're wrong. I am giving you a completely outlandish, insane solution. Okay, whole mind has to appear insane to perceptual mind because it has no guidance system. It simply declares love, and that's what you're deadly afraid of. Why? You'd lose your associate consciousnesses. The things that you love would live forever. There's one thing you don't want, the things you love to live forever. You really can't stand them fundamentally. They are attractions of your hate and disassociation from other thought forms. Everybody hear this? The reason you guys don't want to live forever is because it's finally very painful for you. You think that eternity is a long time. It has nothing to do with time at all. So you can hardly wait to die finally to get out of the pain and tension that you're in. I'm not going to let you die anymore. Now what are you going to do? You can insist that you're going to, but I know you perfectly in my mind. I know you intimately within the last 200 years. We know each other. All of us are what you would term quick reassociations. If you guys look around, you'll see consciousnesses that you have been in association with intensely in the last 200 years, and you know it. You just keep writing different scripts for yourself and hold yourself in a particular coordination of what you want that consciousness to be. What are you going to do with me? How did I get stuck into this then? Now you really got a problem. Why? I'm making you address your own problem, and you don't want to do that. You're the cause of this, and therefore you're the solution. You would much rather share sickness and death with me as you have projected me, so that I can give you a value in association with our mutual bodies. Don't tell me you don't, because that's what a human being is. Not only that, but it is expressed as love and is love. Dear one, I'm not trying to take your love away from you. I'm just trying to give you whole love rather than discriminatory death associations. That requires the confession that everything that you love gets sick and dies. Is that a true statement? Don't give me this as going through a transition and everything is going to be okay. That's senseless. Jesus in the Course says, it's a strange idea that somehow a part of you would die and a part of you would be real and go on. That's absolutely senseless. If anything dies, everything dies. Wouldn't that be so? Okay, there is no death. How can I come to know that? Okay, bring your associate consciousness, which you define as a body, into a whole thought form relationship. This is called in the Course in Miracles the face of Christ. These consciousnesses who are undergoing this transformation are literally having bright images of their own thought form associations. They may see your face, for example, as the Christ. The practice that we'll do this afternoon is to look through, this is the Course, to look through the consciousness that you're sitting. If you guys want to do this in therapy, you're starting to do it now because you can feel this opening up in you. What? We begin to look through each other rather than establish our reality here. Okay? As long as you defend yourself in thought form, our reality has to be established at what we would call an aesthetic distance between us. This is pure Course now. We have thought forms that we bring together and project from us and mingle in some sort of pool of consciousness and defend our own associations with ourselves. We now have what? Maintained a distance between ourselves and associated ourselves by our own projections. I am showing you that if you will release your opinion of me, you will discover that through your own creative mind, you have extended me from your wholeness, and since you are whole, the consciousness that you're identifying with is whole. Okay? This is a process of the relinquishment of judgment. Okay? Now, my mind, which is in spirit, what we call the opening here, only sees you, Jesus calls this looking through, see? I'm only seeing you as a whole consciousness in my association. I'm not thinking the way you're beginning to release it now. Oh, I wonder why you're wearing your earrings and your gun. This is what you do. How did you get here? Why are you sitting there? Who are you? Who does your hair? I'm not doing that. Okay? I have absolutely no concern about what your name is. When you do your workshops in this, stop wearing identification cards, for goodness sake. What you're doing is condemning your brother to death before you even meet him. Hi, I'm John. How long you been doing the Course? Well, I've been doing the Course for 7 or 8 years. I'm a doctor of Ploopy-Doop. And oh, is that so? Oh, that's nice. What do you study? Well, I study the glaciers on the moons of Jupiter. Really? Well, that's interesting. I study the beetles in the Brazilian jungle. It's all just blah. What are you doing? Keeping on to your own identities. You're holding on to your own self-assertions in order to keep your identity. But I'm a great threat to you because I only love you, and boy, if one thing you're not going to take, it's that. There's some lovely sentence in the Course. Jesus says, boy, if love gets too close to you, look out. You're going to back away from that. Right? there has to be a justification for love. Your mind is a justification for your limited love associations. The idea that you are whole and beautiful in God's sight is impossible for you because your identity is based on not being that. Okay? You don't have anything to say about it. So let's give up your own self-identities in these holy instances, and then we can come to know who we are. I didn't mean to get into a talk. Yeah, I don't know what I never know what I'm going to do. Is this being recorded? Are you guys still with us out there? This tape will be available at God's Holy Place. The first 3 years after my awakening, and still, I wouldn't allow any sort of taping. Awakened minds have a natural aversion to associate judgment, because this kind of talk is inherently crucifixial. I'm presenting you with the reality of you, and there's a defense that you have built in not to hear the simple teachings of Jesus Christ, or what I'm saying to you. In the Course, Jesus says you crucify the Christ each moment by your refusal to admit your own Christhood. You literally kill yourself, which is exactly what you've been doing. Don't do that anymore, okay? And you'll be whole and free. Okay? It's not too early for you to do this now. You stop looking for the second coming outside yourself. The second coming is you changing your mind, if you want to use it in the religious vernacular. It's impossible that you are not both the Christ and the Antichrist. The part about the Christ doesn't disturb you as much as the part about the Antichrist, but if you're not the Antichrist, who is? Can you understand that you can't be opposed to anything in reality? That all opposition is false? That all negativeness, that is, a disassociation from anything, is a declaration of less than wholeness and is literally impossible. You cannot be separate from reality. Never negate. Never. All negation is an opinion. The whole teachings, my teaching, I agree with everybody. Don't defend yourself in any regard. Have no opinions about everything. Be weak. Be meek. Be poor in spirit. Step back. Be number two. Let the world go. Don't succeed. Give up stores. Well, that's an impossible message. I don't want to hear that. Don't. Is this a message that you must hear and practice? Yeah. Now, watch your next response. Well, nobody here does that. That's what you're going to do. You're doing it right now. Well, I know, but all around me are these images, and certainly none of these other consciousnesses are doing that, and never will. They literally never will. Why are you trying to change? Why are you trying to change the effects? All of your counseling is an attempt to change the consciousnesses sitting out there. The practice is to change you. Do you see? You project it outside of you, and you demand of that consciousness sitting there that he change his mind. That's the craziest thing I ever heard of. It's impossible. There's no way you can do it. I know I'm teaching in your weakness and your strength, and in your total weakness is your salvation. Why? You're in competition with God, and you will not succeed. You think that you will, but you won't. You can't, because you are perfect. You can say to him 1,000,000 times, how did this happen? I say to you, what difference does it make how it happens? Wouldn't you rather have it not be so? Why would you want to get cancer? I'm really curious. And you say to me, well, I don't want to get it, right? Well, why do you get it then? And you're going to say to me, I can't do anything about it. And I'll say, that's crazy, that's absurd. I'm telling you, it's crazy and absurd for you to get cancer. I don't very often do this. I just straightened something out in you. Did you feel that? Okay. Now, that's a little plus that goes along. Yeah, you can feel that too. That's that's a new frame of reference that I gave you in regard to your cancer. Oh, I don't have cancer. Yes, you do. If anyone has cancer, you do. And you had it. You don't have it anymore. You know that you had decided to die of cancer? That's crazy. Don't do that. That's fact. And you know it, and I know it. But now it's not going to happen. And you say, well, maybe I'll die of something else. No, it's too late. In the teacher's manual, they say, what's the difference between healing and atonement? They're the same thing. If you're whole in any regard, you're whole completely. You keep dividing up your own sicknesses. It's crazy. Am I a healer? I'm the greatest healer that ever came into the earth. I'm the only one. You guys can't hear that. I don't care whether you hear it or not. If there's only one sickness, there's only one solution. That has to be me. Well, what's your salvation? Believe me. You'd have to believe me. Obviously, that would be the requirement. Why? I'm a projection of your denial. Is it really that simple? Of course it's that simple. How could it, if I'm only a product of your own mind, literally all you have to do is declare your brother to be the Christ. This is Course now. Do you guys do Course in Miracles here? Well, I'm giving you the Course in Miracles. Do you like that or not? You're my Savior. Yes. It doesn't make it makes absolutely no difference whether you think you're my Savior or not. I'm certain that you are. In that, I'm redeemed. Thank you for saving me from this. I don't care whether you're the cause of it or the effect of it. Why? The cause and effect aren't apart. I could care less whether you believe that Jesus Christ wrote the Course in Miracles. Remember that Jesus Christ is the Course in Miracles. He is not an idea about it. Jesus Christ can be a separate conceptual observation that you have about Jesus in your own mind. If you do that, then you have to separate the Jesus that speaks from the Jesus in what Jesus says. That's absurd. If cause and effect are not apart, a whole mind is what it says. You attempt to judge, you're doing it right now, you attempt to judge what I tell you based on how you've constructed me. That's crazy. You've got your cause and effect apart. What's his name? Wapnick. He's very determined to give the previous consciousness an association of 2,000 years. He can well do that, but the only conclusion he can ever arrive at is that man, Jesus, is man ascended. That you, Margaret the Christ, are Margaret in sin or sickness, unreal, going through a transformation and coming whole. That process is singular. There aren't multiple separations, guys. How absurd. Anything what would be the difference if you're separated from the whole? Why do you want to have a multitude of differences in relationship to what you are? Don't do that. That's the way you hang on to your illusion. You think there are degrees of, you can't tell the difference between happiness and pain and sickness and that. So don't do it anymore. Okay. Have you been undergoing holy instances in the last hour? Yeah, that's what's happening to you. Can you feel it? Yeah. Did you pull it back down into your own false crap in reality? I hope not. Because each moment I'm offering you salvation. You say, this is too good to be true. No, it's not. I'll get you now, get you later, and there is only now for me. There might be later for you, but that won't do you any good. Who did you think your Savior was? I'm here. I'm telling you this now. All I'll ever do is tell you this. You say, well, later on somebody else is going to tell me. No, that'll be me. Isn't that funny? You don't like to hear this. Can anybody really, you guys hear me? How many can really hear this? Obviously, one separate self-identity would be the same as it all. You can divide up and judge your Savior all you want to do, but it's through your judgment of Him that you deny His Saviorship. It's impossible I'm not your Savior. It's literally impossible because I'm standing here telling you I am. Not only that, but I know it. Are you required to know that I'm your Savior? It has absolutely nothing to do with you, but you're not going to like this, because I'm going to say to you, if you persist in your own perceptual mind, you have no reality to me. That's what your salvation depends on. Your determination to see that as you present yourself to me, you have no reality. Otherwise, you'll continue to judge me in our associations, which are what our falsity is. All right? All an awakened mind does, and some of you guys are really beginning to do this now, is declare to the student his own unreality. Let it go. All of your judgments of what I am are false. Okay? I'm making a declaration of a whole mind to you. All judgment is false. Each time you come to me, and you've asked for me as an advanced teacher, I will deny your relationship with me and tell you that you're whole and perfect. You are determined that you will bring your self-identity to a whole mind, and it's not possible for you to do that. Literally not possible. But remember that I can only be a projection of your mind, okay? And through your relinquishment of judgment of me, you will be saved and whole and remember heaven. This is Course in Miracles. This is what I'm teaching. Subjective reality. Am I really in your dream telling you this? Yeah. Did you really hear this in your dream? Yeah. How else would you be hearing it now? It's impossible that you do anything in time that you haven't already done. Isn't this so? Tell me something that you haven't already done. Come on. Well, you can't. You say, I don't know what I haven't already done. Well, sure you do. As soon as you tell me, it's already done. Why? Perception is always past tense. Everything has already happened. You're just reliving in your own dream. You keep reliving the same dream over and over. You play different parts of it. This is lovely, chapter 26 in the Course. Okay? It's just your dream. Well, where will the world be when you're not here? Nowhere. There isn't any such thing as a world. Jesus in the Course. You really think that you came here at a particular time with the world only waiting for you to be saved? Not so. You brought the world with you when you came. You brought all of, what does Jesus call them? All of these shadow figures, he called them. You brought all of these shadowed figures with you to justify your relationships and your separation. That's what you've always done. You've been wrong, you've been untrue from the beginning, haven't you? Is this too good to be true or too bad to be true? Sure. But it is. Okay? Now you find yourself in a very uncomfortable situation. You can jump up. This is lovely. I'll give you these quotes from the Course. You can jump up and run out of here because of fear of what I'm telling you. Yeah, it's very fearful to you. It doesn't seem as though it would be fearful, but it is. I'm now threatening you with your own reality. This is that barrier that you need to pass in the relinquishment of your own perceptual form. Jesus says this is the illusion of thought forms that you have constructed to keep yourself from seeing the reality of the light that's all around you. Literally, you have done this. You have capped what? Your own perceptual mind. All right? That's fearful for you. Okay. All of the admonitions of the minds about you that you think our minds will say, don't do this. Don't decide to make this commitment. Okay. You're at your point of fear. Now, always before you have turned back from this. Okay? This time you're not going to. Why? I'm here to help you at that point. Okay. I'll sustain that for you very easily, but I can't do it for you. See, it's only in your own mind, right? Nobody can do it for you. You say, well, Master, why don't you do this for me? I can't. I can declare to you that through your own whole mind, you can see that I am with you at what you call the portal of reality. Jesus calls it what? The borderland. He says you stand now at the borderland where things are no longer holding in your illusions as much as they used to. This is lovely, course. He says now sometimes you go into a little different dream, and then you get fearful and you fall back down into this dream. And then what? You say, no, I don't want this dream. I'm going to die in this dream. Then what do? You relinquish and you go through another experience. Now what am I teaching you? Holy instant. Feel this? When I begin to teach at a high level, you begin to feel this energy. Why? I'm releasing my own conceptual necessity to teach you. If I do that, I will leave here. I'm held together by this momentary necessity to present this to you. These are the direct teachings of Jesus Christ. Just for that moment, I retain an image memory of you, okay, in my own memory, although I know it is not real. So I can declare to you, no, this is not real. If you will accept that from me in your mind, you will shorten, Jesus says, you'll shorten time immeasurably. You'll collapse it. What? You won't have to continue to experience the pain and frustration of your attempts to hold yourself separate from reality in your own dream. You should take hold of this too instead of kicking this around. Finally, you've got to have to understand that it's an experience that you need to undergo. You think I don't know you guys. I know you guys perfectly. There were only 12 of us to start out. Do you think I don't know you out of time? Don't be absurd. How many do you think there were of us? I'm here to tell you the war's over. Further than that, I'm here to tell you it never happened. Were we all part of the original screw-up? Yes. Yes, we all share that original moment together. Can you see this? Now, where are we finally in time? We've come back to that original moment. We've made a full circle again. We're back at the time of the actual occurrence, and this is very fearful to you, because the momencity of that single happening is so intense that you just defend yourself from it. The necessity now is to look at it without fear. Say, no, I'm not going to go back out again. I'm east of Eden in the land of Nod. Okay. I'm not going to go back out into Nod and sleep again. This time, I'm going to hear it. Okay. All consciousnesses who come to me in this relationship are different, and this was my talk last night. Many of you can remember your previous death experiences. A lot of you, when you were born into this episode, just went, oh, what am I doing here again? How did I end up here again? How did I get in this crazy place? How come I'm different than these other consciousnesses around here? I'll tell you why. You can remember your last intimate death association. And at that time, because of the pain you felt at that termination of bodily function, you underwent a bright light realization, and subsequently, because you had not undergone the total exponential experience, had to come back into another association. This is a little occult. I don't know where you hear it. I'm giving you a fact here. Now, what am I inducing in the holy instant? The death experience. I'm literally inducing this light brightness that you felt at your last episode of death. Have you ever seen a bright angel of light around a dying? Have you been around people that died much? Some of you healers, or so-called healers, that have been around consciousnesses have died, have had the experience, I have a lot, when I used to work with dying people, of actually seeing the release of their own energy and the actual extension from their chakra. Lovely light and energy will come around them, and they will exalt, many times they'll exalt the Lord. I've heard declarations of New Jerusalems and all of this new bright association as they what? Apparently depart the body. Is this what you're undergoing now? Of course. What did you think you're undergoing? Now, what you're going to do is undergo it with a full realization of all of the memories that you have brought with you into this configuration. Nicodemus, know ye not ye must be born again? This is that happening, that death experience that you're afraid of. In order for you to be born again, you must undergo the death. Okay, here's the top teaching. Each moment this is occurring. Each moment, time lasts but a moment, and you are living within that moment, all of your so-called death experiences. You guys that begin to read the Course entirely differently than you've ever read, these are direct quotes from the Course in Miracles. You can stretch that into 50 years or 80 years or 100 years if you want to, but it was only a moment. And each moment it is available to you to come back into eternity through the relinquishment of time in your association with yourself. I guarantee you that that's true. Course in Miracles. Is it possible for you to come into the holy instant and live in it for the remaining of your time? That's what these new minds have done. This mind, these minds. The light begins to shine out of their reassociations with themselves. Can you get this by judgment of them? Don't try. Don't try. That's the fallacy, isn't it? Oh, gee, I can see that he's undergone an experience. I wish that could happen to me. Nonsense. He's a projection of your mind and a denial of the experience that you must undergo. Do not judge your brother in his spiritual acuity, his capacities to undergo what these consciousnesses are doing. This is a process of individual atonement. Your sole function here is to undergo this experience for yourself, for indeed you are the world, aren't you? And that's what's happening to you, and that's what you're doing. Be grateful that you got a shot at this, right? You'd be happy with the idea that it's possible for you to lay down the necessity for you to die and get sick. Okay? I understand that the world is going to say, stay with us. You've constructed them to do that. I understand that the world is going to declare to you that you shouldn't throw all your eggs into God. Let's not go off the spiritual deep end. Let's stay grounded here so that you can get sick and die with the rest of us. You do that. Okay. Am I an alternative for you in that? Sure. Like Jesus says, will the world despise you and crucify you for teaching it? Exactly. Why? That's what they are. If I could take this up just a step for you, I'd like you to see how really little you've identified yourself here. You insist that you're a body. Jesus calls it little. You're just so little. You look up at the stars and you say, well, those stars are 1,000 trillion miles away from you. That's absurd. The furthest star is right here. The furthest galaxy you can see is this neighbor right here. This is a galaxy. We are establishing intergalactic association. What did I have to do that first? I have to take my microcosm in the distance in my subatomic particle association, which is exactly the same as out there. I have established interstellar drive with my own relationship. All right, I had to do that before I could go intergalactic. Okay, each human being is, Jesus calls you a constellation. And that's okay. Perhaps a galaxy is a better word. Okay? Until you had interstellar drive, you had to fight the distance of your own chakra, what you call in Revelations your own church. Well, it took you 10,000 light years to get from your stomach association to your mind. Because you tried to do it at the speed of light. But remember, measured subatomically, the distance from your stomach to your head is approximately 18,000 light years. There's just exactly as much smaller than you as there is bigger. Can you hear any of this? Okay? The whole universe that's contained in you is precisely the universe that's all around you. This is a Katha Upanishad. I keep falling back into this other stuff. As above, so below, as within, so without. You don't mind that, but your conceptual mind wants to make it symbolic. It's not symbolic. You are the universe. Everything that you do is all that the universe that there is. The only thoughts there could ever be in the universe are the ones that you are having. If you say there is no God, there is none. But there is, therefore you are not real. And by maintaining that there is none, you have separated yourself and made yourself unreal. The consciousness that declares that is not real, and it never happened. Ready for the biggie. This never happened. It's impossible that this, look around you, for crying out loud. It's like you're standing in a real small place. It's like you fell into a well and we're fishing you out. I'm going to let a line down now. Take a hold of the darn thing and I'll pull you out. Instead of trying to keep turning around within your own dream. You got knocked out. You're hallucinating. You're asleep. You're dreaming. This isn't real. I'm right in the middle of your dream telling you to wake up, okay? Yes. There have been some very major shifts in perceptual consciousness here. You know what's so lovely? You guys begin to communicate with each other in the great rays at another level of association. The more that you release your perceptual associations with yourself, this is what these high brothers are doing, the more that you'll accumulate and accumulate new energy and associate at a new thought form. If you're just being held by your own self in your own bondage of thought, you see. Remember that it's your obligation to undergo this. Don't try to experience it in relationship with your brothers, guys. It won't work. Your relationship is false. You keep trying to identify where he is in his spiritual awakening. That's absurd. He can't be anywhere that you don't posture him in. Everybody got that? Okay. Are these holy instances happening to you now? Sure. Are these stored up in your genetic relationships? Of course. Those of you who are beginning to have these lovely memories will suddenly have a lovely memory of this. This is a memory. You'll go, oh yeah, I can remember being here and sitting here and going through this, and you'll be absolutely right. We are reminiscing about this right now. We're actually outside of time talking about it together. Isn't that fun? We're really standing outside. Is that Jesus with us? Yeah. He's a little short guy. He's about 5'4" with a hook nose and pock face. He's a 6'4" redheaded Irishman. I changed that. He's sitting right here in this chair. Whew, teacher. There he is right here. Would you like to see that energy? The energy of the Course in Miracles is this energy. Are you guys there? Remember that the Course in Miracles is an established thought form association out of time, but still in the congruity of the association with perceptual reality. All right? It's a borderland. Okay? The contact that you're feeling, although some of you may transcend it into your own whole light, will be a contact with this final Christ phase. Many of you are undergoing experiences that transcend what you call the rim of fire, and you are actually going into full illuminations. When you do that, you will not long remain here, but certainly we would like to use your revelation to cause vision, which is what I'm doing. Those of you who had these lovely visions last night, some of you had some fair ones, okay, are utilizing my revelatory energy to revision yourself in association with your projections. Does everybody hear this? That's what you're doing with your mind. I'm encouraging you to use this light brightness, the Holy Spirit you call it, to undergo the re-illusionment of you to a higher framework of harmony and peace with what? Within your own mind. This is a dream. Let's dream a true dream together for just a moment. And then we'll be out of time together, won't we? Yes. The quilt is lovely, thank you. Jimmy, you're looking good. You're going to be bouncing up real high here all of a sudden, teacher. You want to stay in the bod and walk around a little bit and get real bright? I'll do that for you if you want to, or you want to change and have a different one. Look, I repaired this one sufficiently. Huh? Well, any of you guys that, you know, stay in it. I wouldn't recommend that you trade this. I wouldn't go through another death experience. There's no need for you. This one works okay. Why not use this one? You've got a real good dream going here, right? You've got it all together. Why would you want to go through another death? Don't do that. Okay? If you're capable of hearing me tell you this, you're capable now. And I know you're early. And Jesus says in the Course, there are very few consciousness in this fold of time who have reached the capacity for a full maturation to reality. But you wouldn't be sitting here if you couldn't do it. I just took a look at what you've designed your death to be. Don't do that. No, I've already been through that. That way won't work. You think it's going to be real gentle and easy, and this one you're going to do is going to be real gentle and easy, but you're still going to have to face. You're going to come back and you're going to be sitting right there, and the next time it won't be so gentle and easy. Why? You have to You have to undergo all of the stress and pain that you subtracted from your mind, okay, and have died rather than experience. I want to encourage you to go through the experience now, even if it appears to be painful to you. I'll give you all the sacrifice you want, but make it. Go ahead. What have you got to lose? Make the last useless journey, as Jesus calls it, the journey to the cross. Some of you are going to begin to have some lovely experiences here now. Remember that what I'm teaching you at this level is literally out of time. I am making no provisions for your future at all. A lot of you are going to go out and have a future and die. I'm not offering you that. I'm offering you the immediacy of salvation. I'm not offering you conceptual associations where you can stay here and have an establishment of a church. The church that we've established makes no allowances for time at all. It simply says now is the time when you don't need the church. Did you need the church for the moment that you needed it? Of course. Then make your whole life this church of full endeavor. Make everything that you do from this moment on a dedication of your determination to come into the new light. That's what the church is. Did I have to build my church on you? Of course, because you needed a church. Is there really such a thing as a church? Of course not, but you think there is. The church is the process of you coming from your separation to your reality. That's why I named you Peter. You denied me thrice. You keep denying me. Is there somewhere else I can build my church on? No. Those that don't deny don't need a church. So all you need to do is make that simple admission in your own new spiritual identity. Stop wanting to be crucified upside down. Remember that you are the Christ. Okay? Can you get that by following? Only by full discipleship. Okay? You instructed me to re-identify the certainty of your Christhood. That's what I'm doing. You requested from me in your mind that I show you your own brightness, how you really are in superconsciousness. It is impossible that not be so, or I would not be doing it. You had to ask me to do this. Somewhere you asked for help. And somewhere the intensity of the necessity for your help, identified by your inability to deal with the terrible things that are going on around here, have caused you to continue to ask for help in the relinquishment of your necessity to cure the evil.